Streaming now, this is the Wood TV Live Desk.
And good afternoon, everyone. Phil Penarski here with the News 8 Live Desk. Hope you're all having a great day so far. Well, the snow today that hit much of West Michigan probably serves as the perfect reminder that we're not only getting closer and more into the winter season, but also the holiday season will be here before you know it. While the holidays usually mean lots of fun, lots of laughter with the family and friends, and in my case, lots of eating, the season can also be pretty stressful for a variety of different reasons and can be a pretty sad time for a lot of people as well. So to help try and make the holidays and the winter time in general just a little bit less hectic, a little bit less sad, we are now being joined by Dr. David Rzutko with Priority Health, and one of my favorite guests as well. Miranda is back on the live desk with Miranda, Where You Live, and also How's It Really Going. We're going to be getting into all that in just a little bit, but first, thank you both so much for being here today. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Of course. And Miranda, I love starting off by talking about How's It Really Going, because I think it really does set the scene a little bit. How's It Really Going? I mean, you guys recently did sort of touch on this topic a little bit.
Well, thank you for asking how's it really going, and that's a question that I think we need to be asking our kids, other family members, and also ourselves. This is that time of year where it's one of those things where we've got a lot going on, and at the same time we feel lonelier than ever, or we feel less heard or less understood or less seen. And our whole campaign, which is How's It Really Going, that you can find at woodtv.com/mental health, gives folks opportunities to get the conversation started with ourselves and with our family members. And so I would encourage people to take a peek at that. And as we move into the season, I always like to bring along my friends who have so much more expertise than I do. And that's where Dr. Rzutko comes in with Priority Health, because we're talking about holiday stress, and I think it's a reality for everyone, especially our kids. So I'm thrilled that he's joined us today.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Rzutko, I do want to start off by talking about holiday stress. You know, as I said at the very beginning, when we usually think about the holidays, we think of maybe cooking in the kitchen or opening up Christmas presents or just a variety of different things, going out to downtown Grand Rapids, checking out the Santa Parade, all that fun stuff. But it can also be sort of stressful as far as like maybe stress indicators or things that may cause stress that maybe we're not really taking into account of at this time. What really comes to mind from your own expertise of just things that are really stressful and kind of weigh on people whether they know it or not?
Yeah, as you mentioned, it's a very busy time of year, and generally it's filled with happiness and fun. But those missed expectations and the expectations that we put on ourselves can sometimes magnify those senses of just being sad or even lonely, even in a room full of people.
Mm-hmm. And kind of also touching on that as well as the winter blues side of things as well. You know, we've noticed, we've seen studies, research that's come out that just, you know, the few hours of daylight that maybe we do get, or the sun that does decide to show up, maybe isn't enough as well. Kind of dealing with that, is that something that you would sort of agree with, or something that you've also kind of noticed that once we hit that winter time, there's more and more of these cases when people just don't really feel like themselves? Yeah,
very much so. It's actually, you know, more clinically proven. There's a lot of literature out there and research out there about those shorter days and kind of how that affects folks. And that's a really good terminology. I really like the term winter blues, because there's a couple of other terms out there that are very, very discussed. Seasonal affective disorder, you'll hear that kind of bandied about, which is really a subset of a unipolar depression. And so winter blues is, you know, much more pervasive, but it doesn't necessarily always have to rise to the level of true clinical diagnostic for seasonal affective disorder. The winter blues, again, as you mentioned, you might feel a little bit like you're not enjoying yourself, or having senses where you are maybe a little bit more reserved when otherwise you would be a little bit more outgoing. You don't want to take interest in things that otherwise would have given you pleasure, and just in general feel just not yourself during the winter months, and oftentimes resultant of that shorter, you know, day and a longer night.
Mm-hmm. Well, you touched on a couple of things. Obviously, the hectic schedule, the lack of sunlight, just things in general that maybe, again, I feel like a lot of people probably don't think about it too often, but then they sort of, as I said, don't really feel like themselves. What are ways that we can maybe help manage the stress, manage the winter blues? Is it so easy as just saying no to maybe a party, or maybe just staying in for the night, or maybe it's as easy as going for a walk when you do have time during the daylight when the sun is out. I mean, are these just some of the things? Could it really be that easy?
Well, realistic expectations are certainly a really good first step, is to say, okay, if I've got, a number of things that need to have addressed or commitments, how do I really prioritize those so I'm not stretched too thin? So being realistic is a really good first step. And then also recognizing your own triggers and your own signs. So making sure that you're getting enough sleep, making sure that you're getting enough good exercise, and attention to good nutrition, making sure that you're eating, your 3 squares and getting enough protein, and hopefully less sugar and more fruits and veggies, especially around the holiday time.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people are going to really be utilizing that, as well as a bunch of other resources that people can find right now on the How's It Really Going website. Miranda, there are a lot of great tips there for not just the holiday and winter blues, but really just overall year-round help.
Absolutely, and I really, I think we're in this perfect storm, because we have all of the stress and expectations and depression and everything else that comes along with the good of the holiday season. And then you marry that with these long, dreary days. And I mean, Dr. Zuko, it's one of those things where you're like, I'm usually a pretty positive person. Why am I feeling so down today, or so exhausted, or so tired? Is that fairly common?
It really is. Again, that's where we call it the winter blues, and it can affect anyone in all walks of life. It doesn't discriminate much. But I think, as you mentioned, it's just important to recognize those triggers in yourself and elevate those, because the good news is, if you do bring that, there is great treatment for that, or there's great remedy, right? And so don't suffer in silence. And if you see others around you that have changed in their behavior patterns, or if school performance in our kids has dropped, or some trigger, again, ask them, check in, ask them, how's it really going?
And having, yeah, absolutely, yeah, no, kind of having that sort of same initiative or campaign with just a ton of information that people can check out. Dr. Zuko, when you think of that, I mean, that's really a great first step, kind of what you were going at.
Sure, it's because again, these are the society as we continue to move on. These are pervasive, and we're definitely recognizing that there's behavioral health conditions as a comorbidity for lots of ailments and lots of illnesses. But as a society, we're just in general a little bit more stressed. And so what we can do to help support each other through that and provide some of those avenues to de-stress, very, very warranted.
It's a very good time, like Miranda said, especially as we approach the holiday season too. Check in with everybody, ask them how's it really going, be that person for them, and if you ever need any information, you can definitely check out the How's It Really Going campaign right now over on our website, woodtv.com. Tons of information, tons of resources that you need to know and just can utilize at any given time, 24/7, 365. Miranda, Dr. Zuko, thank you both so much for stopping by today. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks,
My
Phil.
pleasure.
Of course. I want to thank everybody else for tuning in to this latest edition of the News 8 Live Desk. I'm Phil Penarski, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.